Hey, it's Bill, and you're tuned into Three Questions and a Song, episode number 92, where the title of the show says it all, and it still kind of doesn't. But I went that long period of time where I asked a bazillion questions. I'm trying to get it back down to asking three, and I can't even do that. I'm asking four tonight. Um, Deal with it. So this is episode number 92, as I said. With me tonight is Josh from Doors in the Labyrinth. Is it okay to call you Josh? Josh?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Um, so before we get into the questions, why don't you tell us a little bit about your like give us a biography of Doors in the Labyrinth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm located in Pittsburgh. I've been playing music in Pittsburgh for about 22, 23 years. This project's only about 7 years old. Started out doing noise and ambient, a little bit of post rock. I did traditional folk for a little while. I did some synth pop. I did some techno traditional folk music, and I stopped performing for a little while to do film scores, and spent a few years just focusing on that, and decided at the end of that world wasn't for me, and I just really needed to get back on stage. So I started this project. The idea was to get something that kind of blends all my experience and my influences into one, we'll say, relatively cohesive thing, because I'm still kind of all over the place. The music tends to be dark, it tends to be electronic. I play guitar, so there's a lot of guitar, but sometimes there's not. And I've released straight up ambient tracks and straight up noise tracks alongside more traditional songs. Lately, I've been working with a lot of the post rock and drone influences. So, taking these repetitive rhythms and building them from these quiet little ideas into these big giant roars, and trying to write songs around that. So that's kind of where I've been lately. But yeah, I've been, as I said, I've been playing around 7 years in Pittsburgh with this name. Recently played at the Government Center with a couple other local bands. Played at Spirit with Chameleons in the fall. Try to keep busy.
Um, See, I'm already gonna break from that. I'm doing shorter. So when I went to your website,
Mhm.
it mentioned that your record company that is really the home of everything you do.
Mhm.
And I have to know how you pronounce that.
Oh, Narflagger.
Okay. Say so.
The story behind that was back when I was in high school. I was bored and I was sitting on a computer and I was bashing away random keys, and that was the first word that was pronounceable. So it just kind of stuck with me ever since.
So it was a happy accident.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a part of me that thinks I should get serious and maybe step away from that, but on the other hand, that kind of reminds me of where I came from. So
Cool.
Nobody knows how to pronounce it, but that's fine.
All right, so it's called Three Questions in a Song, and as I alluded to, I got away from that for a long time, and the show was getting to the point where it's like an hour long, and that's not the purpose of this one. The Pennsylvania Rock Show is an hour-long show. This one's supposed to be like 30 minutes or less, so I'm gonna try and get back to that.
All right.
So the first question I have for you is, can you pinpoint for us when you realized that you were going to be a musician?
Actually, I can. I always loved music. Ever since I could remember, when I was a little kid, the special treat for me was listening to Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here" on my father's old '70s headphones. So music has always been a part of me. But when I was in high school, I first heard Frank Zappa's "Watermelon and Easter Hay," and I had never heard anything like that, anything so powerfully emotional in an instrumental guitar piece. And at that moment, I just realized I have to do this. I have to learn how to do this. Obviously, Frank Zappa wasn't quite where I started. That's a little bit advanced for a self-educator, but I taught myself in high school listening to old records, old Pink Floyd, was listening to a lot of The Cure and Joy Division at the time. So I can still hear little bits of David Gilmour and Robert Smith in every guitar line I've ever played. But yeah, it was that moment that was just what solidified it for me.
I'm gonna add on the first song that I remember hearing that really started this for me would have to be probably either Shout It Out Loud or Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss.
Right.
My uncles are a few years older than me, not many.
Mhm.
Like one of them's 5 years older than me and the other one's 9. So I spent a lot of time with them, and that's
Mhm.
what they were into. And it slowly, progressively got me to what I do now.
Yeah.
But,
It's always a great moment when you hear something that just clicks in a way that nothing else had, and it's exciting.
and it's amazing. There are some things that'll click that you don't realize it until later, that
Hmm.
completely out of your wheelhouse. Like I mentioned, I believe it's called the War of 1814, which is really about the War of 1812
Hmm.
by Johnny Horton.
Okay.
My dad used to play it on cassette in the car all the time, and I used to be like, this again. But it was actually a good song.
Yeah.
Are
I've
you
been listening. I'm familiar with it. I've been listening to a lot of Gordon Lightfoot lately. Same sort of
Yeah.
thing. Just old music that you heard when you're younger, and just really connecting with you.
But, all right, so question number 2. So if a DeLorean with a flux capacitor is sitting outside your next show, what year are you visiting and what band are you going to hang out with while you're there?
Oh, this is a tough one because there are so many things that I never got a chance to see, and so many shows that you wish you could go to, and bands that you wish you could just hang out with. But oddly, what I'm going to go with is a couple bands that I've seen a bunch of times, but one specific show. I'd go back to October of 1998, and the band Low were playing with Godspeed You Black Emperor. Uh, Both bands I love. Again, I've seen them both. They Low ended their set with the song "Do You Know How to Waltz," which is a favorite song of mine, and it ends with this big, long, droning, building thing. And throughout the course of that, the members of Godspeed of You Black Emperor started coming out on stage, and they just picked up with that drone and transitioned from one band to the next. And I've only ever heard these low quality bootleg recordings of it, and even that, there's such a powerful recording that I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be there and to witness that thing that, as far as I can tell, only really happened that one time. So I would, sure, I'd love to have seen Joy Division, or to see Suicide or Frank Zappa or any of these bands, but that one show, that is a moment that I know I would love to see.
I am I'm full of I'm going to add things tonight.
Yeah,
Um
that's great.
so I used to work at Kennywood,
Mhm.
and I was a manager, and the manager of the other I managed Kittyland. And the manager I managed the back, and then the manager of the front, her brother worked for Ticketmaster at the time,
Mhm.
and she brought in a stack of Leonard Skinner tickets for the next day, and she was just passing them out,
Oh,
and
nice.
I had to work and open and close, and I
Oh,
took some and I gave them out to everybody, and I didn't go.
yeah.
I should have called off and went. So that's probably where I would go. I would go back to that show.
Yeah.
All right, so the song that we're going to feature tonight from Doors in the Labyrinth is Rabbit Hole, and then in parentheses, I think that's French, and I'm not even going to attempt that.
Uh,
But you
it's
can
the
say it if you like.
Yeah, it's the Inlay Rabbit radio mix. It's a reference to Watership Down, and the Black Rabbit of Inlay is the rabbit spirit of death. So I've kind of like been dropping that reference in through a bunch of things I've done over the years. So I was doing a remix of this song, or it's really just an edit down of the song, and I thought, well, we'll call this the Inlay Radio mix.
So, tell us a little bit about it. I know there's a really cool story behind it, so this is perfect for this show.
Yeah. So there was this project online that was started as a tribute to the band Coil. Anybody who's into electronic industrial music, Coil was one of those legendary bands. Another one I never got a chance to see live. If that time machine is sticking around for a few more days. And it started out first, they were just doing a tribute album where everyone did covers, and I wasn't really all that interested. And then their second release was, let's do a tribute album, but all original songs, like paying homage to, and in the maybe in the style of, maybe not, just show how the band influenced you, and that really got me on board. So I did one of those, and that was fantastic. And the second stage of it, the project was called Triangles of Mania, and the guy who was running this project created this track, and everybody who was participating had to take some of that sound and use it in their song in any way. There were no rules other than it just had to appear in there somewhere. So one of the things that Coil were often known for are a lot of deep occultism, esoteric references. And I got thinking about that and thinking about how you start thinking about these things and how easy it is to spiral down into it, and how that's all you can think about. And honestly, that's kind of my relationship with music. Like, I start doing it and that's all I can think about. And so I wrote this song about that kind of obsession. And I took the sounds that they gave me. One of the lead synth voices that you hear was me mangling that sound and stretching it out and creating a melody with it. And then I wrote the rest of the instrumentals to go with it. I sang on it. Not a lot of people on that project were risking recording vocals, but I love to sing, so I'm always going to do that if I get a chance.
Very cool. So this rabbit hole thing is going to come into play a little later. Kind of Alice in Wonderland, that rabbit hole. You'll see what I mean. But what we're going to do now,
I'm also a huge Lewis Carroll fan, so I'm all on board with that.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a moment and we're going to listen to Rabbit Hole Inlay Radio Edit by Doors in the Labyrinth, and we'll be right back with some more questions for Josh. For those of you that are watching either live or Memorex, there's an old reference for you. You're not actually going to get to hear the song right now. You have to wait for the episode to release, or you can go to his website. Do you want to mention it now, and I'll get you to mention it one later too?
Yeah, best place to go would be my Bandcamp site. That's doorsinthelabyrinth.bandcamp.com.
Okay. So you know what I'm going to do, since we're kind of in this part that I'm going to cut out anyway, I am going to go ahead and add that to a banner and put it up on the screen. Not Johnny and the Razor Blades.
We can plug them too. What the hell?
Where's in the they are on this week's PA Rock Show, and I recorded that episode last night and did it live there. Did I spell everything correct? Does it look right to you?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So doorsinthelabyrinth.bandcamp.com. I'll put that up a little bit later too. But for now, we're going to come back as if we listen to the song, and I'm going to ask you a couple more questions and let you ride off into the evening after that.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that was the Rabbit Hole Inlay Radio Edit by Doors in the Labyrinth. A couple more questions for him. Two more for the 3 questions of song stuff, and then a couple more general ones. and then we will be headed off into the evening. So this next question was asked by Bobby C of Royal Honey. Generally, the way the show was supposed to go in the beginning, the way I'm trying to get it back to, is there's a question from the previous artist that asks the next artist a question. But I got so far away from it that I had to go way back. Bobby's band was way back on episode 39, and he volunteered to help me out tonight. His band, Royal Honey, kind of sleaze rock, very cool band. His question for you is, what was the first record or recording that you purchased?
Well, with my own money, the first thing that I bought was the soundtrack to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I will embarrass myself and say that at the time, yes, it absolutely was because of that Bryan Adams song. I loved that song. It has not stayed with me over the years. However, Michael Kamen's score just absolutely blew my mind. And even as a kid, I guess I would have been late middle school, early high school, that kind of clicked into, hey, film music, that's a thing that I'm going to really enjoy. So yeah, it is sort of a little embarrassing because of that Bryan Adams song, but I still stand by that recording, and the overture to that movie is one of the best pieces of film music I've ever heard.
Again, interject something. You can't be embarrassed by that. I used to own Michael Jackson Thriller, and I used to own a New Kids on the Block album. So
here's an 80s moment for you. I remember as a kid listening to Thriller and trying to decide whether do I stop the record early so I can watch Fat Albert, or do I let the record continue and listen to the end and just watch the show a little late. These are the biggest problems in the world when you're like 7.
I have not seen Fat Albert in a long time.
Yeah, me either.
There's a good chance that some of the people watching are going to go, what?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so this next question, and the reason that it has to be here, this is the official Build a Scene question, and there's a whole story line behind it, but it's who's your Dave Grohl? And by that, I mean, who do you want to go up on stage with and perform one of their originals?
Ooh. Oh, that is a tough one.
See, I kind of prepared you, but I didn't explain.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. Like, who's your Dave Grohl? What is Dave Grohl? Dave Grohl isn't my Dave Grohl. Whatever that means. I'm sure that's not it. Wow. I would love to share a stage with the band Current 93. They're an English experimental folk, goth, noise, all sorts of. I've covered them a bunch of times. They're one of my favorite bands. I would love to be on stage with them, but that's even in the impossibility of a Dave Grohl. I think that's a long shot.
Listen, the Dave Grohl thing, I will explain to you off the air, but I will say that it is a long shot, that whole storyline. But the listeners have heard it enough of that. I'm not going to tell them again. Yeah. All right, so I told you I had like 2 more general questions for you. Yep. The first one we kind of touched upon already, and that's where can people find your music and follow you online? And we kind of...
that's doorsinthelabyrinth.bandcamp.com. I'm on Facebook and Spotify and SoundCloud, Instagram, any of the social networks. That's what you got to do these days. So anywhere you want to listen to music, you should be able to find some of my music.
Okay. And the last question for you tonight is, what's coming up next for Doors in the Labyrinth?
Well, I'm doing a couple guest vocal spots for a friend on some songs they recorded. So gonna work on that. Next, I'm really hunkering down to work on the next album. I moved in the last year, so over the last year I was just doing like 1 or 2 off songs here and there, a couple little special projects, but didn't really have time to focus on the album, and that's what I want to do next. Also, as an aside, and bringing the conversation back full circle, I'm attempting to learn Frank Zappa's Watermelon and Easter Hay. I've got a sheet music book of his that I bought as soon as I bought a guitar, but it's been way beyond my skill level, and I think maybe this is the year I tackle it. So I've been working on it. I'm still a ways off. It is hard to play like that man played.
Hey, well, Josh, I want to thank you for hanging out with me.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Thank you. Once again, make sure you go to doorsinthelabyrinth.bandcamp.com. Make sure you check out buildthescene.com, where you can find more episodes of 3 Questions and a Song, the Pennsylvania Rock Show, Friendly Fire, Build a Scene Radio, and all kinds of things that are Pennsylvania rock, metal, and various genre related. My name is Bill. This has been episode number 92, and we will catch you next time.